Since my last mouse review, Zowie's come out with a bunch more wireless mice, all of which now support 4K polling rate. And I've been testing these mice on and off for the last several months, so I can finally give you my review. In this video, I'll be going over the new DW variants of the ZA13, the EC2, and the S2. It's also worth mentioning they did release a DW version of the FK2 and the U2 as well. Speaking of which, if you happen to have the older version of the U2, you do now have the option to buy the upgraded wireless receiver to start using it in 4K. If you are interested in the U2, then make sure to check out my review that I made a while back here. Mostly everything I said in that video is still relevant to the new DW version, and if you're curious about the differences, then this video should clarify that for you as well, as the mice I'm covering today are using the same tech inside. Jumping right into the quality, all the copies I got were consistent with each other. None of them had any creaking, flexing, rattling, or anything else out of the ordinary. And the main buttons didn't have any side play or wobble issues, which is my biggest pet peeve when it comes to gaming mice. And speaking of the main buttons, the clicks feel nice and crisp, as they're using the same Huana blue shell pink dot switches Zowie loves to use in all their mice. The scroll wheel is also very familiar. If you've ever used a Zowie mouse in the last few years, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's very tactile, and you can easily feel each step when scrolling. Zowie did, however, reduce the sound by a decent amount when comparing to the older CW series. The side buttons are also very well done, and I have nothing to complain about here. There's no mush to them, and they don't have excessive travel distance. I have heard stories of some copies having a slight issue with the protruding upper shell at the ledge where the two shells connect together. I didn't personally experience this, and it doesn't seem to be an issue on most copies, but it is at the very least something I wanted to make you aware of. Before diving into each mouse individually, I'm going to quickly talk about what each of them have in common. As with all Zowie mice, these are driverless, and every setting you could possibly need to change can be done so using various combinations of buttons on the bottom of the mouse. Some of these are pretty straightforward, like changing the DPI, which can be toggled through 6 steps, being 400, 800, 1000, 1200, 1600, and 3200, but other settings like liftoff distance use the side buttons in conjunction with the power switch. But all that information is available in the user manual, and while it sounds confusing, it's actually pretty straightforward. Each mouse also comes with the same set of fast white PTFE mouse skates pre-installed, alongside an optional set of classic slower black Teflon skates if you prefer those. And finally, each mouse comes with not only a standard wireless dongle, but also an enhanced wireless receiver that doubles up as a charging station that you can dock your mouse on during breaks to keep the battery topped off, which is far more convenient than having to use cables. Although that is still an option as well if you need to play and charge at the same time. And lastly, but probably most importantly, they're all using the Pixart3950 sensor now, as opposed to the last generation of Zowie Wireless Mice, which used an older sensor. And with this new sensor, 4000 Hz polling rate, or 4K, is now possible. The mouse that I think is going to have the most interest out of this bunch is the EC2-DW. This really is a classic shape for competitive esports players, and chances are your favorite pro has at one point or another tried this shape. At this point in time, I think it's proven just how good of a shape it can be for some people. Of course, it's not going to be for everyone. This is definitely what I consider to be a medium-sized mouse. Now, Zowie do also make a smaller and larger version, and I did a review of the CW version of the EC1 a couple years ago, which you can watch here. The main difference being the CW version doesn't support 4K polling rate, and weighs a little bit more than the DW variant. Speaking of which, the weight of this mouse is 60 grams. The shape of the EC2 is actually a fairly versatile one. It's usable in just about every grip style. With larger hands, it's even possible to fingertip grip this mouse. Although from a design standpoint, it's much more suited for either palm or claw grip. This really is that classic ergo feeling that many people find comfortable. It's got that wide back that fills your palm, and that right side flare that gives your pinky and ring finger a place to rest in a relaxed position. Or if you're the type of person that enjoys a 1-3-1 grip, which is where you rest your middle finger above the scroll wheel, then this mouse also has a ledge in the middle of the mouse, which is perfect for that. For just about everyone with medium or small hands, this is a very safe shape to recommend, and there's a reason that it's been copied over and over. Really quick, Zowie did also send me the H-SR-SE Rouge. If you're curious to know more about this mousepad in depth, then I'll have my review of the first H-SR-SE Rouge linked in the cards. The speed and quality is quite comparable to the original one, although the new and improved base is quite nice and it doesn't slip around as easy. Now, out of the other two mice, which are both ambidextrous, or asymmetrical as to really say since they only have side buttons on one side, the S2 is definitely the safer option to recommend to most people that like the style of mouse. If you have large hands, it's a really solid option for fingertip grip, and if you have medium-sized hands, it's one of the best claw grip shapes out there. In fact, the larger version, the Zowie S1, is an all-time personal favorite of mine. I have 20 centimeters by 10.5 centimeter hands, and find that the shape fills enough of my hand to give me some stability when tracking, but it also leaves enough room to make vertical adjustments using my fingers. The S1 shape really allows me to easily tuck the mouse in and out of my palm, depending on what I need in that moment. And of course, the S2 is a scaled down version of the S1, so these features will carry over if you have the right hand size for it. The ZA13 shape, on the other hand, is a very interesting one. While there's many mice that feel similar to the S2, the ZA13 is one of the most unique feeling mice that I've ever used. and I found the shape for whatever reason to be very good for large range motion flicks. The tall peak of the mouse really pushes into your hand and keeps it steady while making those fast motions, whereas some other mice sort of tilt in your hand and require a bit more micro correcting. This mouse really surprised me just how easy it is to stop on a dime, and for that reason I found it to be a very fun mouse to try. It might sound silly to say this, but it's actually one of the best raw flicking mouses that I've ever used. Is a tracer here?
Yeah.
There was a tracer there! Now, both these mice could realistically serve the same target user, as there's a bit of overlap, being they're both good shapes for small to medium hands, and both of them weigh 65 grams. I would say the ZA13 leans a bit more into an aggressive claw, whereas the S2 also doubles as a fingertip grip option as well. Personally, I found as someone with large hands that uses claw grip, I preferred the taller hump on the ZA13 over the S2 shape. But I still hold the S2 in a high regard because, as I've mentioned, the larger version, the S1, is still my personal favorite, which I main to this day. So it's quite logical to think the S2 is going to have some fans amongst people with smaller hands. Personally, I'm really looking forward to the day that Zowie releases the S1-DW. It may not seem like it, but even small differences in size can actually make a huge difference in the techniques that you can use to aim with the mouse. And it's all dependent on individual hand autonomy. And Zowie is one of the few companies that actually makes several size options for their mice. I've been waiting years for a wireless S1 to come out, so the fact that the S2 finally has a wireless version gets me very excited. Whenever the S1-DW does come out, I'll be sure to make a review of it and link it here. But in the meantime, here's a review of a different wireless Zowie mouse.